A widening search tonight for the man suspected of murdering 5 people. Law enforcement says almost execution style in this Cleveland, Texas home.
It is my #1 priority to find him.
A gruesome shooting took place in the Trails End subdivision, a rural neighborhood about 45 miles northeast of Houston. The alleged perpetrator, Francisco Oropeza, is accused of killing 5 of his neighbors, including a 9-year-old boy, after they reportedly asked him to stop firing his gun late at night. This incident escalated into a tragedy that shocked the entire community and led to a large-scale manhunt. Part 1. The day of the shooting. Late on the night of April 28, 2023, Oropeza, a 38-year-old Mexican national, was in his yard in the Trails End subdivision, a small rural community near Cleveland, Texas. Oropeza was firing his AR-15 style rifle, something he reportedly did often, much to the annoyance of his neighbors. That evening, the gunfire disturbed the peace in the home of Wilson Garcia, where several family members and friends had gathered. Among them were Garcia's wife, Sonia Argentina Guzman, 25, their 9-year-old son Daniel Enrique Lasso Guzman, and other relatives, including Julissa Molina Rivera, 31, Diana Velasquez Alvarado, 21, and Jose Jonathan Cáceres, 18. Inside the house, the loud, continuous gunfire startled the family, particularly Garcia's newborn baby, who was having trouble sleeping due to the noise. Garcia, along with 2 other adults, decided to go to Oropeza's house and politely ask him to stop firing his rifle. The trio walked over to Oropeza's property and explained their concern. Garcia told Oropeza about the newborn and requested that he stop firing his weapon, at least for the night so the baby could sleep. Oropeza, however, refused. He reportedly told Garcia, "It's my property. I can do whatever I want." Tensions rose further when Garcia warned Oropeza that he would call the police if the shooting continued. According to witnesses, this warning angered Oropeza, who then went back inside his home. The situation could have ended there, but instead, Oropeza retrieved his AR-15 rifle, loaded it, and headed toward Garcia's house. Upon reaching the home, Oropeza entered without hesitation and began firing at the gathered group. Police reports later described the attack as execution style, with the suspect aiming directly at the victims' heads and necks. The first person killed was Sonia Argentina Guzman, who was shot near the front door. She was followed by Diana Velasquez Alvarado and Julissa Molina Rivera, who were also shot and killed instantly. Jose Jonathan Cáceres was another immediate victim of Oropeza's rampage. The most devastating loss, however, was the death of Daniel Enrique Lasso Guzman, the 9-year-old boy who had tried to hide during the shooting. He was rushed to a nearby hospital by emergency responders but succumbed to his injuries shortly after arrival. The violent attack left 5 people dead and shook the tight-knit community to its core. In the aftermath, authorities found several other children hiding in the house. These children, though physically unharmed, were traumatized and covered in the blood of their family members. Their survival was later attributed to their quick thinking in pretending to be dead, avoiding Oropeza's attention during the chaos. Law enforcement, who arrived over 40 minutes after the 911 call, found a horrific scene after entering. Oropeza had already fled the area on foot, prompting a massive manhunt involving multiple agencies, including the FBI and U.S. Marshals. The tragedy, which claimed the lives of 5 Honduran nationals, was described by the San Jacinto County Sheriff as one of the most brutal he had ever seen. Part 2. Background. Francisco Oropeza, a 38-year-old Mexican national, had a history of legal and immigration troubles long before the tragic events of April 28, 2023. He had been deported from the United States 4 times between 2009 and 2016, but despite these removals, Oropeza repeatedly returned to the country illegally. For the past few years, he lived in the Trails End subdivision near Cleveland, Texas, a quiet rural neighborhood. While he was known for being a tradesman who often helped neighbors with tasks like electrical or plumbing repairs, he also gained a reputation for frequently firing guns in his yard, a behavior that disturbed and annoyed many residents in the area. Oropeza's tendency to shoot his guns, particularly his AR-15 style rifle, often alarmed his neighbors, creating friction within the community. Complaints were made, but his behavior persisted, leading to escalating tensions. According to his attorneys, the situation wasn't as simple as it seemed. They argued that a deeper conflict existed between Oropeza and his neighbors, one that went beyond his noisy gunfire. They pointed to an incident in which the neighbor's dogs allegedly entered Oropeza's property and killed some of his livestock, including sheep and chickens. This event reportedly worsened relations between Oropeza and the Garcia family, the same family involved in the confrontation on the night of the shooting. Despite these tensions, Oropeza was described by some as a helpful and skilled tradesman, often willing to assist others with repairs or projects. However, the combination of his unsettling habit of firing weapons and the unresolved conflict over the livestock incident created a volatile environment in the small community. The mistrust and bad blood between Oropeza and his neighbors likely played a significant role in the tragic escalation that occurred on April 28, 2023. Part 3. The Manhunt. After the tragic shooting on April 28, 2023 in the Trails End subdivision near Cleveland, Texas, Francisco Oropeza fled the scene, triggering one of the largest manhunts in recent Texas history. Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, the Texas Department of Public Safety DPS, and the U.S. Marshals, were immediately mobilized to track down Oropeza, who had killed 5 of his neighbors in cold blood. The authorities worked tirelessly, deploying advanced tracking technology, search dogs, and aerial surveillance to locate the suspect, who was believed to be armed and dangerous. The first 24 hours after the shooting were crucial. Investigators determined that Oropeza had likely fled on foot or by bicycle to evade capture. Initial search efforts were concentrated within a 2-mile radius of the crime scene, but as time passed with no sign of the suspect, the search perimeter was expanded to 10 miles. The authorities were racing against the clock, fearing that Oropeza could disappear further into rural terrain or seek assistance from acquaintances. As the manhunt entered its second day, the FBI publicly announced an $80,000 reward for information leading to Oropeza's arrest. This was a significant move aimed at encouraging local residents to come forward with any tips or sightings. The community was on edge, and tensions were high as many feared that Oropeza could return to the area. Later that day, the reward was increased to $100,000, reflecting the urgency of the search and the need to apprehend the suspect as soon as possible. The search efforts intensified on the third day when Oropeza was reportedly spotted near Texas State Highway 105, a major roadway in the area. This sighting led to a temporary lockdown of nearby schools as a precautionary measure, heightening fears in the community. Authorities combed the area but were unable to locate him. The sighting confirmed, however, that Oropeza was still in the vicinity and had not yet managed to flee the region entirely. On the 4th day of the manhunt, a breakthrough occurred. Acting on a tip received through the FBI's tip line at approximately 5:15 p.m., law enforcement officers descended on a house in Cut and Shoot, Texas, a small town about 18 miles from the crime scene. The house was believed to belong to one of Oropeza's relatives. Inside, authorities found Oropeza hiding in a closet, concealed beneath a pile of laundry. He was arrested without incident at 6:30 p.m. by a joint task force that included U.S. Marshals, DPS troopers, and BORTAC, the Border Patrol Tactical Unit. Oropeza was taken into custody without resistance, bringing an end to the intense 4-day manhunt. His arrest brought relief to a community still reeling from the brutal killings. San Jacinto County Sheriff Greg Capers praised the collaborative efforts of the law enforcement agencies involved, stating, "This was a coordinated professional effort and we got our man. The tip that led to Oropeza's capture was a pivotal moment in the investigation. While the identity of the tipster was not publicly disclosed, law enforcement credited the reward and public appeals for encouraging people to come forward with critical information. Part 4. The Trial. Following his arrest on May 2, 2023, Francisco Oropeza, the alleged perpetrator of the Cleveland, Texas mass shooting, was charged with 5 counts of murder for the deaths of Sonia Argentina Guzman, 25, Daniel Enrique Lasso Guzman, 9, Julissa Molina Rivera, 31, Diana Velázquez Alvarado, 21, and Jose Jonathan Cáceres, 18. These charges were later elevated to capital murder, making Oropeza eligible for the death penalty under Texas law. On May 4, 2023, during his initial court appearance in the San Jacinto County Courthouse in Cold Spring, Texas, Judge John Wells presided over the hearing and set Oropeza's bond at $7.5 million. The prosecution announced its intent to pursue the death penalty, citing the heinous nature of the crime. Oropeza's defense attorneys, Anthony Osso and Lisa Andrews, from a Houston-based law firm, have consistently argued that the full story behind the shooting has not yet been disclosed. In their public statements, the lawyers highlighted a history of tension between Oropeza and his neighbors, which they claim complicates the narrative. According to Osso, the initial story about asking him not to shoot his gun in the backyard because a baby was sleeping is probably not going to prove to be an accurate version of the events. He added that the case, while labeled a mass shooting, is a different kind of situation. The defense pointed to past disputes between the two families, including allegations that the neighbors' dogs had killed Oropeza's chickens and sheep, which reportedly worsened the relationship between them. These long-standing tensions, according to Andrews, may have contributed to the escalation that led to the tragedy. Despite these arguments, the defense team has not yet elaborated on what Oropeza might have said about the events leading up to the shooting, maintaining that further investigation is needed. Osso has indicated that reviewing the evidence thoroughly would require time, stating during a court hearing in January 2025 that the trial likely wouldn't proceed until mid-2025. The San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office faced significant criticism for its delayed response to the 911 call on the night of the shooting. Initial reports from Sheriff Greg Capers claimed that deputies responded within 11 minutes, but an investigation by the Associated Press revealed that it took over 40 minutes for law enforcement to arrive. This discrepancy led to public outrage and calls for accountability. Adding to the controversy, Texas Governor Greg Abbott faced backlash for his public statement, referring to the victims as illegal immigrants. Abbott's comment, made shortly after the incident, was seen as insensitive and sparked widespread criticism. Many pointed out that the immigration status of the victims had not been officially confirmed. In response, Abbott's office clarified that the statement was based on information from law enforcement, but the damage to his public image had already been done. On August 10, 2023, Oropeza appeared in court again, where his legal team reiterated their need for more time to review evidence. This procedural hearing, held before Judge Wells in the 411th District Court, was brief but underscored the slow pace of the case. Prosecutors, led by Rob Fryer, the first assistant district attorney for San Jacinto County, expressed confidence in their case but refused to comment on specific defense claims about the underlying tensions. Fryer described the crime as a massacre and emphasized the importance of securing justice for the victims' families. During the same hearing, Andrews noted that the discovery process, the phase where evidence is shared between the prosecution and defense, was ongoing. She highlighted the complexity of the case, explaining that it involved significant forensic evidence, ballistics reports, and testimony from surviving witnesses. The decision to pursue the death penalty was not made lightly. District Attorney Todd Dillon stated that his office carefully weighed the evidence and the severity of the crime before deciding to seek the maximum punishment. In a statement released in December 2023, Dillon said, "This crime shocked our community to its core. Seeking the death penalty is a reflection of the justice that the victims and their families deserve. Prosecutors formally filed their intent to seek the death penalty in January 2025, solidifying their stance. Dillon added that the case was one of the most brutal he had encountered in his career, calling it a crime that leaves an indelible mark on all of us. The families of the victims have been vocal about their desire for justice. Wilson Garcia, the husband of Sonia and father of Daniel, has spoken out in several interviews, expressing his heartbreak and the profound loss he feels every day. Garcia, who narrowly survived the shooting, described the night of the tragedy in chilling detail, recounting how he held his dying wife in his arms. "She was everything to me," he said during a vigil held in May 2023. The families have also criticized the slow pace of the legal proceedings, with some expressing frustration over the repeated delays. Maria Molina, the sister of Julissa Molina Rivera, stated, "We just want this to be over. We want justice for Julissa, for Sonia, for Daniel, for all of them." The next court hearing was scheduled for April 18th, 2024, during which additional evidence was released to the defense. During this hearing, safety concerns regarding jail conditions were discussed, and the prosecution reaffirmed its intent to seek the death penalty due to the gravity of the crime. The San Jacinto County District Attorney's Office formally announced this decision, with First Assistant District Attorney Rob Fryer stating, "We gave the defense and the judge a formal written notice of our intent to seek the death penalty in this case." Meanwhile, Oropeza's defense attorneys emphasized the need for a thorough examination of the evidence, including ballistics and potential DNA analyses. Attorney Anthony also highlighted the vast amount of evidence, stating, "Each agent within that agency who's involved will write a report if you can understand the magnitude of the evidence that's out there." In November 2023, community tensions flared over signs supporting Oropeza, with some residents questioning the official narrative and others expressing solidarity with the victims' families. Law enforcement intervened to maintain community harmony. Moving forward, a discovery status hearing is scheduled for August 2024 to review the collected evidence before setting a trial date, with the trial anticipated to commence in mid-2025 due to the case's complexity. The defense is expected to continue scrutinizing the prosecution's evidence, while the prosecution prepares its case for capital murder charges. This case is reigniting the discussions about gun violence, community safety, and the legal system's response to such tragedies. As the trial approaches, it is expected to garner significant local and national attention. For the most current updates, consulting official court records or trusted news sources is advisable, as new developments may arise in the lead-up to the trial. The tragedy that unfolded in Cleveland, Texas on April 28, 2023, will forever leave a scar on the hearts of those who knew and loved the victims. 5 innocent lives were senselessly taken that night. Sonia Argentina Guzman, 25. Her young son, Daniel Enrique Lasso Guzman, 9. Julissa Molina Rivera, 31. Diana Velázquez Alvarado, 21. And Jose Jonathan Cáceres, 18. May those 5 beautiful souls rest in peace. Thank you for watching this video until the end. You're watching Creepy Crimes, and I will see you soon with another case. Stay safe.